Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to OS World Cup 2021. Day 2 of the round of 16 weekend is in full swing, and we have seen some chaotic matches so far this morning. Highlights including that big win for the United Kingdom over South Korea, and of course, just seeing a few minutes ago, Singapore closing out Ukraine. We're moving onward back into the winners bracket. Next up, we are going to be seeing Poland versus Sweden. I am this one guy, and joining me for this match is going to be Chillier Pair. Hello, Chillier. How are we doing today?
Good morning, almost afternoon, I guess. Again, I say it every time, but we have an exciting matchup. I feel like that's kind of the round of 16 effects here. You get those spread out matches at the beginning of the tournament. You get first 32nd seed, second 31st seed, and then you really start to pull it in for these matches here. You got 6th seeded Poland versus the 11th seeded Sweden. Both teams with some changes from last year in, I think, the positive direction for both sides here.
Yeah, these rosters are both very, very strong. They've brought in some players who have been really looking great in the community tournament scene. I think, the biggest highlight, probably Ristel, aka maliszewski, has really made a name for himself over the past year for Poland. Of course, Sweden with, some of their kind of tried and true guys. You see, your Reedkatt, your Andros, your scylla year in, year out. But very strong performances from some of the other players on that roster coming in as well. So I think a very exciting one. These teams had, I believe, 4 maps in common in their round of 32 matches, and they split them 2-2. And already here moving quickly, so clearly they know what their plans are. The band's already done, just like that. We see Hidden 2 banned as it has been from the jump. I think this is 7 matches now where this has been banned. And no one wants to play that low air, and that coming out from Sweden. Poland banning out the NoMod 5. So quickly moving into things here. I don't know. What do we think of their strategies going into this one?
If Poland this year, we talk about roster changes for both sides here, and on the side of Poland, most notably, you're missing players like Bartek and TWOJA this year, and that's a hit for Poland. But picking up someone like maliszewski this year, and who is absolute rock star for this team, kind of rounds out the Poland roster a little bit. I think Poland's been pretty specialized for the past couple of years in what they were able to handle as an overall roster, and kind of picking up that all-rounder leaves them room for more of those modded maps that they're looking for, not necessarily, the pure speed DT or the NoMods. But this Swedish team this year, they got rid of Knots and Felrion. They picked up Masta and Jageko this year, so we have more speed players than we've ever had before on Sweden, which is good, because you were kind of running with that Scylla, Couch, Blue roster, which doesn't have a whole lot of speed in there. So both teams are going to be kind of fighting back and forth for these mod picks here. With that being said, this is still an early-ish stage matchup in the round of 16. I think both of these teams have a fairly high skill floor, but I do wonder if Sweden just has a little bit less on that consistency, given that you've got, maliszewski and WubWoofWolf and Mastasz on Poland here.
Yeah, this Poland roster, every year I feel like we talk about the skill cap of the Poland teams and whether or not they can really show off what they're capable of through the early and mid rounds, because they're going to scale incredibly well into that late stage. And I think a huge part of it this year is that addition, bringing Ristel in, who has been one of the best performing players in every tournament he's been in for the last 10 months. The guy is just a monster. He's incredibly consistent, really brings a nice baseline to that team. That skill floor is ridiculously high for him, where that, he's never going to score below a certain margin on pretty much any map that he plays. So very, very important addition to the roster. I do think Sweden, we saw the bans that came out, right? Sweden banning the hidden, Poland immediately picking a hidden. Poland banning out the speed NoMod means that Sweden may look to go into another speed or stamina map. So kind of interested to see how the strategy of this one develops, but very quick start here, rolling on into Hidden 1 instantly from Poland. maliszewski, Mastasz, MAREK, MARUCHA, WubWoofWolf, Can take on Scylla, Scylla, Couch, and Blue as we get underway here with what should be a very back and forth, closely contested match.
Looks like thus far Scylla and Wolf and Mastasz all trading misses off at the beginning here. It's very interesting to note with all these improvements that the Swedish roster has made this year. I think last year Sweden very, very heavily relied on Reedkatt to be a high performer. So the fact that Sweden has the luxury of not having to put him in for every map now is invaluable for them. I think having such a strong hidden roster now, and not requiring that carry player for every single map is going to be something that they want to keep an advantage on here. We've got a really close matchup thus far. You had that miss from Scylla and Mastasz at the beginning here. Wolf just a little bit far behind. That break from Blue is going to put Sweden in the rear a little bit more. The score is going to flick over with that combo lead falling to Poland, but this map doesn't really change too much. There goes Couch, though, and now Sweden starts to get in a little bit of a rough spot.
Yeah, this might explain a little bit why they did go with the hidden ban. Clearly not the most comfortable with this hidden, slightly awkward aim. Scylla and Couch both finding breaks. There is a miss from maliszewski over on Poland to keep things kind of close, but Mastasz and MAREK as well as Wolf all in big combos. I think this map is so long, too. It requires a fair amount of that kind of mental fortitude because you have to be playing these sorts of wide-angle jump patterns for 4 minutes. I mean, that's a lot more consistency than most other maps in this pool, are going to demand out of you. And talking about Sweden maybe having that small consistency trouble here and there, and we do see that early on in this first pick. It's obviously super early. It's the first half of the first map, but we'll see what that kind of leads to going forward. Wolf and MARUCHA and Mastasz all looking super good. Scylla trying to keep things going for Sweden as best he can, but they're gonna fall a little bit behind here.
Yeah, losing that team consistency battle just a little bit here. I was very surprised to see both Blue and Couch finding breaks at the beginning of this. Blue is really holding up the accuracy right now. Just some unfortunate misaims, but this Poland roster, they're just so consistently strong on hidden. I mean, Wolf is kind of like that timeless hidden player. He will just always be good at basically everything, and having kind of this exceptional skill to run through these maps year after year is something that Poland has relied on for a long time now. Couch is going to find a miss again. He's one of the stronger players on Sweden, and there goes Scylla with that last FC, and I think that just might do it for Sweden on Poland's first pick here. Couch finding one more miss. The score lead already well in the favor of Poland, going to be pushing 300,000 in a second, and this basically double FC still holding strong on them. maliszewski with that supporting combo to match whatever Scylla's putting up. Wolf does find a break, but there's really no combo to answer MAREK right now, and the score lead is just so massive that with less than a quarter left in the map, despite Sweden having a three-way 99% accuracy, it's just not going to be enough time here.
Yeah, the big combos, MAREK still on the FC and maliszewski on that 900 combo to match Scylla. Blue is doing what he can, but he's a couple hundred combo behind. It was just, how well Wolf and Mastasz started out the map. Those earlier breaks from Sweden, unfortunately, set them back a little bit. A couple late breaks here, but we come into the ending. It's going to be a pretty comfortable win here for Poland. Get that first pick out of the way, find something that they're able to perform well on, and get MARUCHA into a good spot here as he is going to close out the FC. That is a player that in the past has been a little bit hit or miss. Sometimes he'll show up an FC every map in front of him, and sometimes he'll drop some 500Ks, and, starting off with an FC is a very good way to get this match going for him and for the Polish side. So that's going to be the 1-0. That's going to give them a nice start to this match, and we'll see what Sweden has to answer if they do go into, maybe something that's a little more of a left-hand mechanic focused rather than a right-hand focused map. And it is. Straight into NoMod 2 they go.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with Sweden this year. Again, we mentioned you picking up players like Jageko this year, and, when you kind of couple that with some fairly strong stream players like Scylla, and Andros that exist on the roster already, it rounds out the roster that they've been kind of missing for the past few years. Sweden has traditionally shown up to this tournament. They've they've been good, but they've kind of been floating around like that 24 to 16th placement type team. And I think with some of the roster pickups that they have this year, they're going to look to improve on that. Maybe, 16 to 12 this year. They're going to move themselves up a bracket, maybe even higher than that. If they can pull it together here, they've got to make it through this difficult matchup here. And, Poland looking consistent as always. I think Poland is a team that, they're kind of hit or miss when they show up some years. You'll have a Poland, and there's almost two different modes they have. You have the Poland that can come in and can win OWC, and you have, maybe a little bit off their game. You've got players finding misses. Poland is kind of not necessarily talked about as being a super inconsistent team, but based on their track record, they kind of are. And I think that's kind of in part why Sweden needs to get that foothold in this match really early, because if you can catch even an ounce of that inconsistency on the Polish side, you can capitalize on it. But, if you let Poland run away with their own picks and their points, you are going to find a very, very difficult position in the match. So Sweden really needs to win their picks in, these opening sets here. And, we talked about the stamina. We talk about their speed that they have now. You finally got Reedkatt and Andros in, those top 2 ranked players on the Swedish team. See if they can make a difference here.
Yeah, that's, I think, going to be key for this match for Sweden, is being able to get in those skill cap players on some of these types of maps. We've seen what Andros and Reedkatt are capable of, on your NoMod 2s, your NoMod 5s, maps along those lines. Those guys are extremely strong in this skill set. One thing that I think almost helps Poland more, though, in this match is that it's a small pool. You've got NoMod 5 banned out, you've got NoMod 2, and you've got Double Time 2. Once you get past that, the pool of, really kind of speed-focused maps is very, very small. So Sweden's going to have to make the best of what they have available to them in that attempt to try to kind of slow the early momentum attempt from Poland. Like you said, Poland, they can go from winning OWC one year to flaming out in groups the next year. So it really is that matter of whether or not they're going to be consistent on a given year, how strong they're going to show up in a given match. But I think they do, as we talked about at the beginning, they do have a stronger kind of skill floor this year. I think having Rissell in is so valuable in that regard. But as we go into NoMod 2, I guess, all you can kind of say is we'll find out on this map, because this is one that a lot of players have done quite well on, that I think sets up Sweden in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, strong NoMod 2 teams have traditionally looked very good on this, and my eyes are kind of on Saika right now. Saika is that almost token NoMod 2 player for Sweden in my mind. Time and time again, you'll see him on leaderboards, you'll see his top plays, and he's so strong on it, but last weekend didn't really step up to the plate on the NoMod 2. He kind of, dipped down a little bit on that, so I'm very interested to see if he's going to find some improvement. He looks good right now, 99.72, kind of holding with the big guys in this match right here. Maliszewski and Rafis, 2 very strong stream players right up there. Reedkatt, 99.5, does drop a little bit of accuracy, and of course Andros, to the surprise of nobody, is right up there as well. But larox, that big miss from Poland here, is going to give Sweden that lead that they need going into the halfway point of this map.
Yeah, that was one of those additions this year, new to the team for Poland, laroxPL. You find it hard to replace the guys that they had to replace. TWOJA and Bartek, 2 of the big carries for Poland in the past. Big shoes to fill for guys like larox, and unfortunately on this map, not working out so well for him. Sweden going to have a 4-3 FC advantage as we go through this kind of lengthy break in the middle of the map. This is pretty much right where Sweden wanted to be, and that accuracy looking clean out of Saika and Andros, especially up over 99.5 for both of them. So we'll see if they continue to hold this 4-way, because it will be necessary, as Poland has only found the 1 drop so far.
larox is behind, but it's not too far behind. It's really only giving Sweden about 200,000 score victory right now. But that is going to start to grow rather quickly as we go into that last quarter of the map here. Maliszewski, Rafis, and Mastasz all still look so good. I mean, 99.68 being your lowest accuracy. Now Mastasz. There goes Andros and Masta, though.
This is just going to fly right over to Poland, man. That's 3 FCs to now just 2. And larox has come back. He's got a 550 combo building up. Poland is going to take this lead back in the last section of the map unless they find a couple of unlucky ending breaks in this at last Ki. This is going to come down pretty rapidly here. Those scores you can see building up over 800,000 points. Rafis does find... Oh, okay, everybody hold on. This is going to be so close in the last seconds. It might just come down to accuracy. You've got 2 FCs left per team.
Masta misses again.
Rafis misses again too, though. laroxPL with that big backing combo might be enough to bring this over, but it's going to be so close going into the last stream. It is not enough. And Sweden just hang on by the skin of their teeth to take their first pick by a mere 33,000 points. Boy, that was about as close as it gets. The double FC on both sides. Unfortunately, laroxPL just not able to build up enough score to bring that back. Andros and Masta with enough on their sides to match with Rafis, and the double FCs for both teams making for a pretty close battle. Sweden take it. Tie things up 1-1.
Absolutely stellar performance from Saika on that map for Sweden, making that improvement from the NoMod 2 last week that we mentioned very much needed for them. You know, kind of coming up short. And of course, Reedkatt, you know, we talk about that carry performance that each team needs, and he really takes that position with confidence. We are going to, you know, we'll see that next pick for Poland come out here, but NoMod 4, for them, they're going to take it a different route here. They took that hidden one. They went from the aim into the streams. Now we're going to go into that tech pick here. Poland, a very strong tech team. I mean, you do have players like MAREK that you very much have to be careful of on this, but it's that, you know, Sweden getting the points on the board. They need to look for those breaks from Poland like they saw on the NoMod 2. That's kind of what we've been mentioning thus far. Sweden is a very strong team, and so is Poland. But, you know, both of these teams, as much as they can put up those 3- and 4-way FCs, it really does come down to those misses at the endings, those little inconsistencies on certain players. And it is just whoever is having a better day. It's not even necessarily, you know, which team has the higher skill cap or floor after a certain point. You know, certainly they exist, but I think Poland is going to make use of their skill sets right now with this NoMod 4.
Yeah, I think you can kind of make the argument to a certain degree that Poland is a bit stronger on, you know, kind of the more niche maps, your maps like your NoMod 4s and so on. Largely, you know, that the strength of guys like Ristel, I know we keep talking about him, but that's a player that I don't think Sweden has an answer for on this type of pick. But that 4-man roster for both these sides should be able to perform pretty well on this map regardless. I want to check back. I don't recall offhand if they played the NoMod 4 last week, but if they did, I believe it was pretty close. So this should be another very tightly contested pick, like many in this pool.
Well, I mean, I personally hope so. I think both of these teams are going to have to really put in the work for this match here, and I think for many years now, Poland hasn't really had to be worried too much about, you know, maybe a round of 32, round of 16 matchup. So, you know, it's something that's maybe a little bit newer to them that they're going to have to tread carefully in this matchup, especially against, you know, Sweden. Again, a team that is consistently, you know, maybe been around that, you know, top 24, top 16 area rather than in that top 50%. And, you know, with the roster changes starting to move their way in, and, you know, on a tech pick, you're really basically just hoping that Poland finds a couple of slider breaks here. I mean, you look at Wolf and maliszewski and MAREK and even Mastasz, and you just know that they are going to have a good map.
Yep, this is something that they are always going to do quite well on. And, you know, this map really fits that NoMod 4 archetype quite well. So, yeah, I think, you know, expectations and reality are probably going to be fairly similar. Did you see the break from Wolf? Got the very early miss from Andros over on the Sweden side. But, you know, the cut streams, the slider aim, like, this is exactly what you'd expect out of a NoMod 4. So, players able to be, I think, relatively comfortable on it, as comfortable as you can be on a tech map. This one's been pretty well reviewed. And you can see a lot of solid performances on it. Only the 1 break per team. thus far, even through those cut streams and such. So the score staying very close. Just the difference is Andros leading Wolf, and then a little bit of act difference is really all that's separating them.
Well, you've got strong players on both sides in terms of the tech skill set. Blue and Reedkatt very, very well versed in tech. But again, there goes Mastasz, though. That's an advantage for Sweden that they're going to have to need right now. Marek and maliszewski, especially Rizdal right there, up there, 100% accuracy, finally dropping 100.
Yeah, that's not a good place to break for Mastasz, unfortunately, right in that middle part. But Blue kindly sends the miss right back over. MAREK MARUCHA going to find another break as well. So you've got maliszewski with the only FC left for Poland. Meanwhile, you have Masta and Reedkatt both holding for Sweden. Wolf going to kind of do what he can, but it's a bumpy road ahead here for Poland. That is a big combo lead on the Sweden side, and it's not helping matters that MAREK MARUCHA is continuing to find more breaks, and he's down all the way below 97% accuracy.
Masta's having a little bit of trouble too, but we did talk about the MAREK a little bit earlier. He looked really good on that first map that he came in for, but, you know, unfortunately, you know, MAREK not being as much of a tournament player as some of the other players in this lobby, the consistency leaves something to be said. He is a ridiculously strong tech and, you know, some of these more awkward aim pattern maps, but you know, being able to consistently put up that performance in a tournament match is something that he's not quite as used to as someone like Wolf or maliszewski here, or even Reedkatt for that matter. So, you know, that's kind of the difference between this, and, you know, it's going to be close into the ending of the map here a little bit more so. Poland does have that combo lead, but it does still go to Sweden. Andros recovering perfectly from that early slider break in the map, and then, of course, you know, time and time again, Reedkatt, that carry for Sweden, prevailing for them. And it's just the one FC for either side here, but Sweden gonna be taking a break point against Poland here. This is those inconsistencies we talked about, and Sweden capitalizing on it now. They're gonna have a good start to this match and potential to go up 3-1 if they pick correctly here.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprising result there, but both Mastasz and MAREK MARUCHA not having a great time on that side of Poland. You know, Blue finished down at 500k, but really it was just the Reedkatt-Andros pair that were able to put up a lot of score for Sweden. That was a big win because that was, you know, a non-mechanics type of map that they were able to take away from Poland. That ability, I think, you know, on a NoMod 4 pick, the delta between, you know, expected performance and in-match performance can be really vast on a map like that compared to some other styles of picks. So Sweden able to come on the right side of that one. And now with their own map, I mean, you've kind of got to think that this is a DT2 angle for them, right? Like, I feel like that's the direction I would be going if I were them.
You know, you really have to rely on those speed players that you put in right there. And even, you know, even if you're not looking for necessarily that consistency, we've seen teams perform, at least the speed-oriented teams. That DT2 pick has been so crucial for those, you know, more left-handed oriented teams. And, you know, I don't know if Sweden's willing to go for it yet. It looks like they're not. They're going to go for the hard rock. Looks like they're maybe going to rely a little bit on Scylla and Blue and Reedkatt here, maybe. I don't know how Scylla fills in on this map, but there's a possibility. But the only two I can imagine is Blue and Reedkatt just being able to power through this.
I don't know what to expect out of this. I mean, it's a low BPM kind of awkward aim finger control with those very small circles that you know, is kind of not very similar to really anything else in this pool. So it's kind of hard to judge against the other picks that we've seen previously. But I mean, you know, we when you talk about, you know, we like to talk about left-hand mechanics. You know, these players who are so good at the tapping and stamina maps. Oftentimes there is some overlap with that higher BPM with also some lower BPM finger control. I mean, you look at guys like, you know, an extreme example maybe Arison. For people who are very good at low BPM and high BPM, you know, stamina left-hand maps, tapping-based maps. So maybe Sweden hoping that, you know, the same can be kind of true of their team, where you can bring in a guy like Andros or a guy like Reedkatt, and they'll have the finger control needed to do well on this type of pick as well.
Well, I think that's what they're going to have to look for right now. Again, you know, Reedkatt he's a pivotal player for the Swedish team right now, and he is going to have to perform if Sweden wants to win this match today, regardless of whether or not Sweden wants to, kind of admit it or not. Poland does have, kind of maybe that overall higher skill cap roster, so you really need those top players to perform well, and Blue kind of falls into that category for the Swedish team as well. He has performed exceedingly well in tournaments as of late. I guess even a notable performance is a while ago in Suiji Spring Cup. Has had an absolutely amazing run in that tournament, performed out of his mind all the way through grand finals, and again, it's that double combo right there that they're going to need for this. Masta, Andros, a very strong aim player as well. Maybe not as much on these precision maps. He's not normally catered towards this, but yeah, there's the double break from Sweden.
Not how you want to start off the map at all. And of course, this one places such a premium on accuracy. You see guys dropping down to 94, even 93% in a couple cases. So looking at the players with a higher AC is the ones who are more comfortable on this. Guys like, maliszewski up at 97.8. Andros doing pretty well for himself as well, 97.5. But the break is what's going to make the difference there. Still the four-way for Poland. We'll see how long they can hold on to it. About halfway through, they do have already over a 200,000 point lead. So it is going to take a lot of work here from Sweden to get back into this one. Reedkatt and Blue need to hold on at all costs. Just have a chance, really, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's this dangerous type of picking. I was very surprised when I saw Sweden picking an HR2 into Poland. I mean, regardless of if their skill set very visibly shows, I mean, this is a high skill cap aim and precision team. I mean, Wolf, Rafis, Marek, maliszewski. I mean, Rafis does finally find the first break for Poland here. But it quite literally means nothing, unfortunately. They would need 3 breaks right now to even have a chance, and even then, I think the score lead is just far too in the favor of Poland right now. They're going to put up a very solid team score here. A couple of breaks into the ending, but that's going to be it. A 3.5 million team score for Poland. They're about 470k higher than Sweden there. That double break from Masta and Andros at the beginning of the map, doing Sweden in right from the beginning. They would have needed an absolutely outstanding performance to win that map against Poland. They were just, I mean, that is a team score and a half on a precision map, despite the accuracies.
Yeah, 3.5 million on that map is a really, really strong performance. Shout outs to Ristel, by the way, 4 of 4 FCs so far in this match, doing quite well for himself, holding down the fort there once again for Team Poland. But that feels a little bit like a mispick from Sweden. I don't know that I would go that direction in that situation where you're up the break point. I think, those 2 picks in a row, really, the NoMod 4 from Poland and then the Hard Rock 2 from Sweden, they were kind of high volatility picks, and high volatility picks are great if the match is close and you need to just kind of swing for the fences. But when you're up a break point and you have that advantage, I think you want to get something that you're 99% of the time you're going to put up a ridiculously good team score on and force the other team to beat you rather than beating yourself. And that's kind of what they just both did on those back-to-back break points. They picked these super high volatility maps, and they were unfortunately both punished for them. So, I mean, it does get us back on even footing, but I think, both of those could almost be considered a mispick.
I would definitely call that Sweden pick a mispick here. Poland is going to try and capitalize on their hard rock skill set right now. I mean, Sweden is not an inherently weak hard rock team, but if you look at this roster of players, hard rock doesn't really stand out to you. Again, you have players like Reedkatt and Blue who are certainly skilled enough at hard rock to perform well, but you're kind of relying on 2 players in a 4-man tournament here, which is not something you want to do, especially on an earlier stage pool against a strong, consistent team like Poland. Again, you have to look for those maps that you think Poland will find the little breaks on and just hope that your team outperforms them on that. And I do think that DT could have been that mod pool for Sweden today. Poland is a fast team, but there is a lot of opportunities for breaks on Poland that I can see versus how consistent Sweden has looked on the speed maps thus far. So I think that Poland is potentially just going to take a little bit more of a lead now. I think this might be, a little bit more favored to them than we ever could have thought here. going into more of a slider aim pick. Or we could see something like NoMod 4, and we could just see some random slider breaks across the board.
Yeah, it's really hard to predict on maps like this, and you know what interests me a little bit too is Poland, with their first pick went Hidden 1, and now with their third pick they're going to go into Hard Rock 1. So that's two longest and most kind of consistency focused picks in this pool. You know, this one, like you said, kind of a light tech slider aim, that classic, you know, Suki Nathan style that goes back a few years. Not really much in common with modern tech picks. It's a very, you know, stylistically quite different than what you'd see out of a NoMod 4 these days, but Poland, you know, going back to relying on that consistency, going back to, you know, relying on their aim, and, you know, I think this is a pretty reasonable selection from, like you said, looking to capitalize. Sweden picking and losing on a Hard Rock, Poland saying, okay, well, we will pick the other Hard Rock and see if we can't make you pay for not having quite as strong of a Hard Rock roster as we do. And we're going to get into it. You've got maliszewski, Mastasz, Rafis, and MAREK, MARUCHA, Andros, Reedkatt, Masta, and Blue. Over on the side of Sweden, we've seen back-to-back break points. So Poland looking to right the ship here, see if they can't win on their own selection.
I think if there was, you know, again, Poland looking a little bit stronger on the Hard Rock, but I think if there was ever a Hard Rock that Sweden had a chance of winning, it could be this one. If we assume that, you know, Reedkatt and Blue are equally as strong on this map as they were on the Hard Rock 2, and you hope that Masta doesn't find that really early slider break that he had on the last map, you have a chance of taking Poland on this. There goes Rafis with that slider break that we mentioned. This map, very difficult to be, you know, fully consistent and confident on some of these aim patterns in here. So, again, you know, Sweden hoping for those breaks from Poland. Going to give them the early combo lead. This is a more consistency-based map, if anything, you know, less on the precision, less on the aim control, which is certainly going to favor them more than that last pick here. But it's still early in the map. We're still only a quarter of the way through, and Rafis is only about half combo down on everyone. So, you know, the maximum score lead Sweden's going to get right now is maybe 50,000 here.
Yeah, the breaks are going to start to matter a little bit more now than they did where Rafis missed. So, like you said, his 200 combo behind is not going to be the absolute end of the world. Sweden getting a little bit of an advantage with very good accuracy on 3 of their 4 players. Andros, Reedkatt, and Blue all over 99%. Reedkatt finally dropping down a little bit. Another break from Rafis. That actually is going to start to matter a little bit more. We're getting close to that halfway mark. Missing starts to be incredibly punished. And Sweden's still holding on to 4. There goes MAREK, MARUCHA again. Matched by Blue, but MAREK, MARUCHA's been, that player we've discussed a couple times. Masta, though, breaking as well. So it is quickly at the halfway mark, down to just 2 FCs to 2. MAREK's been that guy that we're a little concerned about what his consistency might look like over the course of a match. And unfortunately, maybe proving us right to question it a little. But still 2 FCs to 2, still staying pretty close, just 100k score between the teams.
Mastasz and maliszewski once again pulling out all the stops for Poland right here, trying to do whatever they can to hold off Andros and Reedkatt, but with those supporting combos right now, we are going to remain relatively the same in terms of score. Something these players are going to have to watch out for is right after this build-up right here. This map does get a little bit more technically intensive. It does speed up a little bit more. There's more sliders. Density changes just a little bit. The patterning gets a little bit more awkward. And MAREK is going to be the one to get caught out by that. That gives Poland a disadvantage in terms of combo now. And Mastasz finding a break is absolutely massive.
Yeah, that is going to put them in a big danger of getting another break point against them. Andros and Reedkatt still holding the double FC. Blue and Masta have both recovered quite well, and now it is just maliszewski with the FC. Rafis doing what he can, but he's half combo. This is going to be Sweden taking a pretty big lead. I don't know that this is really going to be assailable. They're going to get up to about 700k right now. There goes Mastasz again. Couple 100,000 points, all that are remaining for these FC players. And despite the best efforts of maliszewski up there, still just plugging away, Sweden is going to be really able to pull away with this in the last moments, in the last quarter. There goes Rafis. It is now over. That's going to be a break point again, and Sweden's going to go up 3-2. It's 3 straight break points, by the way.
Andros and Reedkatt right now. Andros does finally find the slider break, I think, but oh man, this performance is absolutely huge. Masta and Mastasz finding a break together. but it does not mean anything. Blue has a 1,000 supporting combo right now, which is actually going to drag the score further in favor of Sweden into the ending. And we're going to come into these last couple of sliders here at the expense of jinxing everything. Reedkatt maintaining a 100% FC rating right now.
Yeah, Reedkatt looking so strong today. He and maliszewski just trading blows. I believe both have played every map. No, Reedkatt did not play the first map. So maliszewski's on 5 of 5. Reedkatt is on 4 of 4. And this is just a battle. But fortunately for Sweden, Reedkatt having a little better backing score from his team. maliszewski not getting the support he needs. MAREK down under 500k, which is unfortunately really... like you just can't have that happen. In this round, you can't be under 500k against these top teams and expect to win.
No, certainly not. And something I actually want to take a look at just to try and remind myself. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think Reedkatt has missed an FC in the tournament yet.
I think Reedkatt and Ristel are both. I know we were talking about Reedkatt's, I think, at 10 of 10 now. And I don't have the stats offhand, but I know Ristel at the very least is 5 of 5. I think he FC'd everything in qualifiers as well, for taking that into account. So you've got like just two of the biggest solo carries in the tournament in this match, and they're both performing so well. That is 9 FCs between the two of them on this match alone. Really, really incredible stuff.
So maliszewski... Alright, so last week he had a miss on the DT on Celsius, and he had a slider break on the NoMod 3 alt map, but FC'd everything else in the pool. So he has had, I mean, you know, every map that there was a miss on was still well over 890k, so it was like right at the beginning or right at the end. So I guess we can kind of give him that almost 100% FC rating there, but man, Reedkatt is just feeling it this year, and it's gonna... Here's the DT2 pick. We mentioned earlier, these strong speed teams really have been looking for this DT2 as a good point for themselves, and Sweden looking for maybe that match point already.
I really think this is the pick that is best, like most optimal for them in this situation. You know, up 3-2, you're on a map that you know you are almost at the risk of, kind of jinxing them a little bit. You are almost guaranteed at least 2 FCs on this match if you're on this map if you're Sweden. Andros, Reedkatt, Scylla, and Jageko, like between those guys, you are probably going to get 2 FCs and a couple of other very, very good scores at least. So I think this is a really, really good pick for them. Putting their best foot forward. And like you said, if they can win this one, well, we've had 3 straight break points, but this would be their opportunity to send it to a match point on Poland's pick and really force them into a tough situation. This is a good spot to be in. This is, I think, also why picking second can be really advantageous because of the position that Sweden will be able to put themselves in here if they win it.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whether or not this point goes their way or not, they have Poland's pick to get them to match point, and they have a potential to take a break point there. Even if they lose that, they have their own pick to drag it to tiebreaker, and that's worst case scenario for Sweden. They've looked pretty good on their picks thus far, at least, from what we could consider a good pick. I think, again, we kind of established that Hard Rock 2 was a little bit of a mispick from Sweden. I don't think that was their strongest way they could have gone, but they, maybe pulled themselves together a little bit and they thought about it a little bit more. They're like, oh yeah, we have Jageko. Let's see if we can use him on a DT2 right now. He performed exceedingly well in qualifiers this year as, kind of a new recruit for the team here. Andros and Reedkatt, kind of to be expected, going to be okay on a DT. Scylla as well, a strong left-handed player. These streams shouldn't be too much of a problem, but some accuracy deficit on the Swedish side is going to give a pretty big lead to a very quick Poland team.
Yeah, this is not how you want to start out the map. Your stamina gets drained over the course of it. If you're already starting out at 95, 96 accuracy, it's only going to go downhill from there unless you can really get things under control. Poland, meanwhile, maliszewski with the SS, Burtpi and Rafis with very good accuracy. Andros going to find the first break. That's a surprising location for the first miss of this map. He is known to be a very strong stamina player, so that is not a good. And another, that was actually just an aim miss. He under the triangle. So very unfortunate, but that's going to give even more of a lead to Poland. The accuracy helping them out, and now the combo going to be their advantage as well. We're going to just see another breakpoint. Is this just going to be 4 straight breakpoints? Because it looks like it will happen.
I mean, look at these accuracies on Poland. You really can't hope for a miss from them right now unless someone slider breaks or misaims or something. Sweden does need to hold all 3 of these FCs if they even want to have a chance. There's the halfway point in the map passed. Now they need that break from Poland, and they haven't found it yet. Score lead not out of reach just yet, but it is certainly approaching that. I'd say well past 3/4, and then Sweden is going to be kind of out of the running on a DT2 from a miss on the player that they really couldn't afford a miss on.
Yeah, and the accuracy we talked about not helping at all. Reedkatt 560k. Meanwhile, maliszewski up at 670k, and there goes Andros, Psycho, and Burtpi all at once. That is far more damaging to Sweden than it is to Poland. Mastasz going to find a break also, but I think it's too late to matter at this point.
They need another break if they want a chance.
Yeah, it would need to be Rafis or maliszewski breaking, with Reedkatt and Jageko still holding the FCs to even have any sort of chance, but at this point, it's just going to be out of the running now.
Yeah,
and
once they hit
Poland,
1 million, it's just over.
Yeah, Poland, man, showing up when it matters. Down 3-2, on the verge of going down match point. Decide to take another break point from their opponents. Keeping up that FC rate are maliszewski and Reedkatt, but Poland once again having the last laugh on their opponent's pick, and that is our 4th straight break point. We are tied up 3-all with 1 pick left per team.
Do not look at Psycho's score. Andros, that miss is just... That's unfortunate. That was such early breaks, and then towards the middle as well. I mean, I don't think that they ever would have expected Andros to drop below 600k on this map, especially being as strong of a speed player as he is. That miss aim that we mentioned on the triangle, and then that first miss were just completely uncharacteristic of something you would expect. And unfortunately, it was kind of when Sweden needed it the most. That confidence that comes from getting a match point when the other team only has 2 points is kind of unmatched in terms of team morale. So, Sweden losing that right now means that they're going to have to keep up this fight for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, I will be honest and say in my pick'ems I did have a tiebreaker. So looking like we may end up going that route here with 1 team or 1 pick left per team. Question is, what do you pick at this juncture? I mean, all your picks are going wrong for both sides. Things that seemed favored to one team, like the DT2 and the NoMod 4, not working out for the roster that picked it. You know, you almost wonder if you maybe opt into a free mod here.
There it is.
And there it is. It's going to be Quan from Poland. They were the ones that picked the hidden and the hard rock, and they're now picking the free mod to combine the best of both worlds. CS5 AR8 free mod pick. We've seen some very good performances. We've also seen some kind of questionable performances over the course of the weekend on this pick. A little bit of an over mod friendly map. You see people running extra hard rocks on it and the like, so interested to see what these two teams come up with.
I believe we saw, I don't remember, I think it was Singapore running, triple hard rock on this map in the match right before, and that was, kind of the overmod to speak of here. So far, best performance on this map, I believe, has been the United States with that 4-way FC, 4.0 something million on that, just Taquito finding the break right at the ending. This is a pick that I think Sweden has every opportunity in the world to steal from Poland if Poland doesn't play this correctly. Sweden has a host of strong hard rock players, which is kind of the not necessarily the difficult part of this map, but they don't really need to worry about hidden, I feel like. If you're running with a roster of Couch and Scylla, that leaves you some wiggle room for those, and I think they have enough hard rock to play on this, so Poland is going to have to play very well to take this, even if it is their pick, I think.
I do think, though, one thing that's worth noting about this map, despite it being kind of stylistically different, Sweden banned out the AR8 hidden pick and lost the CS 6.5 hard rock pick. However, of course, they did win hard rock 1, which is a more consistency hard rock pick, which has a little bit more in common with this map. All that is to say, this is a very, very volatile pick as well, I think, between these two teams. The, Hidden 1, of course, went over to Poland, but that one being Air 9 or higher, Air 9.4, versus this, which is Air 8. It's a skill set tandem that we see as a classic in tournaments, and these two teams both have good rosters for it. As we load in, we'll finally be able to see what those mods are going to look like. It's going to be Hidden on maliszewski, it's going to be Hard Rock on Mastasz, double NoMod from Poland, MAREK, MARUCHA, and Wolf, both NoModding. And you're going to see a little bit of an overmod from Sweden. They're going to go double Hard Rock, as you kind of predicted. Blue and Reedkatt Hard Rock for this one. Scylla versus with the Hidden Masta going to run NoMod for Sweden. So a little bit of mod advantage for the Swedes, but Wolf and MAREK are both really solid on this type of map, so I wouldn't be too concerned about them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key. If you have... this map goes two different ways. If you have two very strong reading players, you get that double NoMod and you have two fairly confident FCs. But on the other end, if you have two really confident CS 6.5 Hard Rock players, you also have a fairly confident, double FC in a lot of cases. And, given Blue and Reedkatt's performance on the Hard Rock 2, we can only assume that they are going to have a very good time with this. Scylla, as predicted, taking that hit in a very, very well-versed AR8 player with the hidden modification. Of course, Masta, hasn't been looking too stellar today, but has definitely been performing, not underperforming. So it's going to really come down to whoever finds those first couple of breaks. We're going to have a really big breakable section right around halfway. Scylla's going to find the first miss aim.
Yeah, and a little miss aim on that square, unfortunately. Poland's going to have a little bit of advantage. There goes Blue as well, so that's a Hard Rock and a Hidden gone for Sweden. Opening the door right up for Poland to try and grab a big lead here in the middle portion of this map. Looking quite comfortable across the board there on that Polish side. This is, I think, a pretty solid pick for them as expected, and so far performing quite well on it. There goes MAREK, kind of the player you expect to miss, unfortunately, based on how he's been playing so far in this match, but they do still have the 3 FC to 2 advantage, so not a bad place for them at this point in time.
Not at all. I think they are sitting pretty confidently. Scylla has recovered from that earlier miss, but Blue finding a second one after that break, not something that they really want to see again. You really can't be looking at these, sub 600k, sub 550k scores potentially on a map like this as well. Poland, high accuracy on their 3 FCs as well, higher than what Sweden has on Masta and Reedkatt right now. And there goes Blue once again. He looks so good on the Hard Rock 2, really not having as good of a time on this. And at this point, you've got a 400,000 score lead for Poland right now. If they don't find a double break, this is just over, and I don't see any world where that happens.
Yeah, I think Poland really have this one in the bag now. It's a 400k lead, and there's just only a couple 100k score left. So this is finally a held point. It took us from 1-all all the way up to 3-all before somebody won another pick of their own. But Poland are going to come through in a very important time. maliszewski breaks in the very end. There goes the FC streak for him.
No.
Reedkatt, meanwhile, by the way, still on the 100% FC rate. But it's Poland.
Sit this man down.
It's Poland that have the last laugh, and they take the 4-3 lead. Match point against Sweden on their own pick, which will be the last pick of this match before a potential tiebreaker. Man, you feel for Reedkatt there a little bit, just the teammates a little bit lagging behind what they would have needed, but that's 3 really good scores. I mean, that's a double FC from Mastasz and from Wolf on Hard Rock and NoMod, and maliszewski just barely falling short with that late miss. So Poland took care of business finally when they needed to set up this match point. Sweden is in a spot of bother now.
Yeah,
they try to stay alive.
I mean, again, unfortunately enough for Sweden, even if Blue did find the FC on that map, given Hard Rock 2 performance, he still wouldn't have gotten that. That was about a 640,000 score lead for Poland there, which is a little bit bigger than what Blue could have recovered there. Scylla kind of just missing in the worst spot possible is not something that you can really ever predict where you're going to miss. Unfortunately for some, it just happens to be at an opportune time. But Sweden, you know, you mentioned before that second pick advantage, despite being up a little bit earlier, it does give them the opportunity to go into their own pick on this last map. So they do have full range. They do have access to the entire pool, and if you're ever going to need to force a match point, I would certainly like my own pick to do so. Granted, it does add a little bit of pressure to the Swedish team. It really does require them to pick carefully, and an alt map is what they're going to go for. All right. Sweden alt team now.
Yeah, I mean, having seen some of their players on NoMod 3s in the past, I can understand where they're coming from this on this one. I mean, Reedkatt, probably Andros, like, really solid on alt, but man, I have seen what these Polish players are capable of on alt maps as well, and I don't know if this would have been my first choice against that team. I remember back to 3-digit World Cup Grand Finals. We saw Wolf hop in FC the Grand Finals NoMod 3. You know, we see Maliszewski not missing on basically anything. And there's a late slider break on the last map. That is a scary team to pick an alt map against, but Sweden here clearly thinking it's their best option. They have a couple of players who we know will be good on this, but it's just going to continue to be a matter of how well you can hold on to that consistency in these very high-pressure situations. Down match point on your own pick.
Well, they are, again, in an inopportune position. However, given Poland's kind of RNG performance on some of these maps, and given the nature of NoMod 3 flow aim maps kind of not necessarily catering to teams that find those unfortunate breaks, give Sweden the chance here a little bit. Reedkatt still looking for his first miss ever in this tournament. So it would be just completely unfortunate if it was to happen on this map, but you know, you have yet to see. Masta, again, he's looked so good on the maps he's played. He's just found some unfortunate breaks later on. Couch, still waiting for a big performance from Couch in this match. He's been on the Swedish team year after year, and I think, you know, we're kind of still waiting for that major pop-off from him, despite that kind of set position on the team here. And Scylla, that new addition, he's been kind of a sit-in for this match a lot of the time. I mean, we've seen Scylla for most of these here. So we're going to look for any breaks here again. Poland continuing to put MAREK in for these picks does concern me a little bit. MAREK is a complete wild card for them at this point as well. And yeah, I'm just looking at Maliszewski's screen. He has less combo. He broke on something at the beginning, and I don't know what he broke on. He's got high accuracy too.
He missed in the first 10 combo. I'm not really sure what happened there. Scylla, unfortunately, won a break for Sweden. But yeah, I think, you know, there's kind of two levels on this match, on this particular map, as Masta finds a break for Sweden there. You know, it's kind of the players who you're expecting really great things out of. So, you know, Maliszewski and Wolf. And then maybe Couch and Reedkatt for Sweden. And then, you know, kind of the backing scores, the Mastasz and MARUCHA and Masta and Scylla, who you don't really have as great a feel for what they're going to put forward. And I think that's going to play a big role, because I think you can probably expect at least a couple of FCs from those, you know, top-tier players. But the guys just a little bit behind are going to be the ones I think that make the difference. There goes a break from Couch, but it's matched by Mastasz. So this one, finding a couple breaks for both teams early, but still staying quite close.
That WubWoofWolf card for Poland is dangerous for Sweden here. I don't remember what matchup it was last year, but I remember WubWoofWolf single-handedly FCing an alt map in order to win Poland a map pick by a significant amount. I think it was one of the later stages, and he hasn't really wavered in that alt ability ever since. Masta's going to find a break here, so Sweden is very far in the back now. They've got basically what could be considered 3 FCs besides Maliszewski's early break for Poland with all high accuracy, and it's just Scylla and Reedkatt right now. Masta and Couch having just a little bit more of a difficult time here. Again, Masta is still waiting for that good performance. He's done okay so far, but nothing special. And Reedkatt's first miss of the tournament on the alt map.
And that is the worst possible time. He is halfway through. It's going to cap his score, and it means that it is a near triple FC against 0 FCs left now for Sweden. Poland can really just kind of click over into that autopilot mode for the back third of this map, because they now have a massive 400,000 point lead instantly. That may have been, unfortunately for Reedkatt, a match-losing mistake right there. And Poland just cool, calm, and collected in the driver's seat on this one. They are looking so strong. This was a very risky pick here from Sweden, and they are paying the price for it, unfortunately for them.
Scylla did find another break. That was the biggest combo on Sweden there. Mastasz and Wolf finally trading, but it's a double FC versus Couch and Masta right now. And the combo lead for Poland is well over 1,300 on that one. And there goes Couch, and that's just gonna do it.
Yep, if it wasn't over before then, it certainly was after. Poland coming through back-to-back points here. Actually, that's going to be 3 straight points in a row on the double-time 2-pick from Sweden. I think really kind of took the wind out of their sails a little bit, expecting to do better than that on that DT speed pick, and Poland just hopping on that momentum, taking DT2, Freemod 1, and now NoMod 3 back-to-back-to-back. Maliszewski top scoring despite the very early break. MARUCHA pulling off the FC. Poland is a scary team to pick a NoMod 3 into, and Sweden, unfortunately, finding that out the hard way. That's going to be Poland taking the match 5-3. A very good performance from them down the stretch of that match when they most needed it. That'll send them onward into the quarterfinals, and it sets up a matchup against neighbors Germany. That's going to be a fun one next week.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to Poland prevailing once again. These roster switches, Maliszewski being a pivotal player as expected for them. He is just performing out of his mind this year. And I think that Poland very, very lucky to have him despite the losses of Michny and Bartek this year. That is an addition that will carry them fairly far with this team that looks pretty solid this year. So I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more of Poland in these later stages. They all still looked very confident, even on these harder picks. That is going to be the win for them against Sweden, 5-3.
Yeah, very excited to see what this Poland team is capable of going forward. That was the performance that they needed to get through this match. It was a little dicey at times in the early goings, but they got their footing, got the win, and they advance onward into the quarterfinals. Sweden, of course, dropped down just into that losers bracket. They will be facing, I want to say, the Philippines?
Sweden will be facing, yes, the Philippines.
So they've got a couple of very winnable matches ahead of them in the losers bracket. They are, like we said, looking to make waves, and they still have the opportunity to do that. They'll be able to win some matches down in that losers bracket. So definitely not a tournament-ending loss for them, but their work cut out now as they drop and have to fight through those 2-match week days in losers. But congratulations, man. Poland looking strong, moving on into that quarterfinal match.